ahead with it.
Let's do a little smack time.
Call to order. Wow, you guys are pouncing. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have a roll call?
You bet.
Thank you.
Wade,
Here.
Darcy. Here. Eric.
Here.
Nikki's here. Danielle. Here. Brandon.
Here.
Paige. Here. And Mindy.
Here.
Excellent. Boy, that sounds good.
I think you're fine. Agenda adjustments, we will have a removal of 13C. Just there were some other, I think, some issues that had to be taken care of by our financial person. So we will be getting to that next month, but we'll still have a little bit of a talk on that, okay? Announcements? Any announcements? Okay. Any community input this evening? Moving right along. Student board member report.
Honestly, there's not a ton going on at the high school from when we last talked. But something exciting we have going on tomorrow is Pep Fest that student council's partnered with Terry's community leadership class. And it's really just to celebrate playoffs, kickstart of playoffs for our sports team, and Mr. Feldman, along with the other staff members, will officially be getting pie in the face tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting to look forward to.
What type of pie?
Yeah.
It's really just gonna be whipped cream and
Oh,
pie
okay.
tin, but
All right.
Messier the better.
yeah, don't tell the students.
Any crust?
Not that I know of. I'm
Okay,
not in
all
charge
right.
of assembling it, but
Okay, fair
this will
enough.
be a surprise.
All right.
Graham cracker crust is always good.
Yeah. Anything?
That's really about it. Students enjoyed the snow day yesterday, so thank you, Ms. Crowley, for that. We appreciate
Very well.
it.
All right. Board member reports. Darcy.
I attended the district-wide staff development meeting as well as oversight this month. Lots of talk about letters training, how they want to proceed with that. I know that was also discussed at the meet and confer, thank you. So they're working on that. They were exploring different options for communicating with families, staying with the app, using Infinite Campus more. That is still a work in progress, and we have a subcommittee that's exploring that, and then some talk about calendar, I think are the highlights from both of those.
And following up on that, Darcy, there was a calendar survey and a letters survey that were sent out to teachers.
Oh, yes.
And so those were
presented at the meeting.
things we were discussing, and so.
Eric?
We had a tragedy in the middle school, beginning of February, was it February 1st?
End of January.
End of January. And, I work in town, so I was able to come into the building that day, and I just want each and every one of you to know that our kids are in excellent hands. The care and compassion that our staff showed the kids is excellent, just as good as, unfortunately, I've been in the district long enough that I've been in the different buildings when this has happened, and it's always the same. Our staff is by far and above the strongest asset that we have, so just, they're in good hands. Thank you all for your service to our children.
Thank you, Eric. Nikki?
And just to coattail off that, I also checked in frequently with our admin just to make sure they had the support they needed, and I was very impressed with not only community but in building staff support and how well you all handled it. It was wonderful, so thank you so much. I know the families appreciated that as well.
Oh, and Sarah DeLacy brought in, what's the name of her dog?
Oh, Gunther.
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 Yes.
Gunther, the golden retriever,
Yes.
on that staff day, for staff. I don't know, was it well received or was it cheesy? Was it, okay, good.
It was very well.
I think a pet is always welcome.
Yeah. So,
We had our health and safety meeting this morning, and that all went well. I just wanted to send a quick update that our OSHA mock survey was completed, and there was nothing with the failing deficiency. So all the little minor tweaks and curves were mostly due for incidental things just because of the HVAC systems being updated and other incidental things. So those will all be rectified if and when OSHA would survey us. And that's really all from health and safety. We have AEDs getting either replaced or checking into warranties to see if they can stay on as devices. And then the naloxone grant is being filled out. I think Lauren's taking the lead on that. She's our school nurse. And we'll get those in the building and updated as well. That's all I have for my report.
And that is coming through the Houston County
Houston County.
Collaborative Opioid Settlement.
Yes, that was wonderful.
Danny?
Nothing to report.
Also, nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
We just had a building and grounds, we'll be talking more about the remodels of the bathrooms, a little bit with the fields, with the press boxes, and maybe the gym lockers, the locker rooms someday, but not today. So anyway, I thought it was a good conversation, so Weezer here was very informative, very informative. Okay, administrative reports, the high school principal, Jacob.
So I'm actually really happy to hear that Reagan said that she thinks that things are very calm and nothing's going on. That means that staff at the building are doing a fantastic job of taking care of things before it gets there. Because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the last month. When you switch over the semester, when you have new schedules, when you have new staff members starting, when you have pride cards going out to, I think we had almost 200 kids that got pride cards. When you have all of this stuff going on, in addition to registration starting and class meetings and everything else. The fact that it seems like nothing's going on means we're doing a great job of keeping it calm for the students and keeping it consistent for the students. So that makes me really happy to hear. We have registration now coming up on Friday. We did a little shift because the Pep Fest was supposed to be yesterday. There was no school yesterday. But we have 2 playoff games on Thursday, so we're gonna be able to recognize those students just in the unfortunate event that they might not win their playoff game. We want to recognize them during their season. So we shifted the Pep Fest to Thursday, we shifted the registration from Thursday to Friday. So, that's just this week stuff. But the big thing that we're spending a lot of time as far as staff getting ready and preparing for is that April 9th Mental Health and Wellness Day. And I've talked a little bit about that. We're gonna start sending out messages to families next week. So you might start hearing a little bit more about, things like that in the community. We have kind of 2 concurrent events that are occurring. We have an event for our students, which is gonna happen during the day. Instead of taking just kind of the 3-hour presentation, which is what the nonprofit Aiden's Light that we're working with. That was the group that came to us it was about this time last year, that they came and said, hey, we'd like to come out and do this presentation at your school, but they do it they do 1 week in the fall and 1 in the spring. And they picked that date well in advance, and the week that they had picked was our homecoming week. So we kind of talked about it internally and kind of made a difficult decision to say, we can't do it in the fall because it wouldn't be fair to our students, it wouldn't be fair to the topic to have a 3-hour presentation on suicide awareness and suicide warning signs smack dab in the middle of homecoming week. I felt like that'd be an injustice to both. So I said, sorry, but can you put us on your spring list?
Good
And they
decision.
And they came back and said, well, we'll try. So I was very happy they came back and said, yes, absolutely, been working very closely with them. And kind of in the process, it's a 3-hour thing that they do. Instead of doing 3 hours and then say, go back to class, we're gonna make a whole day of it. And Jen Heggie, who is one of the directors at Aiden's Light, has been involved, she's kind of looked at the plan. And she wants to steal our model and propose it to other schools. So that's how happy she is with kind of what we're doing and what we're building around it. Because we're doing a whole day. So they're gonna start in, it's grades 7 through 12. So they're gonna start in their flex or their advisory. They're gonna have some time with a staff member that they know, that they trust, that they're gonna kind of introduce the topic. After that, they'll go and they'll do the 3-hour presentation that Aiden's Light does. They have a movie that they feature, they have a speaker who is kind of the subject of the movie that will talk a little bit, and they do a question and answer panel. After that, kids will have lunch, so a little bit of time to process and kind of be with their friends, and then we're gonna have some activities in the afternoon where they're focused in on mental health and wellness, stress relief, coping strategies, things of that nature. So they'll have some time to do those before then having a debrief with that same staff member that they started the day with. So we're taking a 3-hour presentation and making it a 6+ hour event, which we're really excited about. And then that evening, we've been working with several community organizations, especially Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center, and then Lions and Rotary are also a big part of that, as well as several of the churches in town. We're gonna do essentially the 3-hour portion of the presentation for the community as well. And then they're gonna do a resource fair before that as well. So there'll be a resource fair from 5 to 6, all centered around mental health and wellness. And then from 6 until roughly 9 o'clock will be the movie, speaker, and question and answer panel. And that'll be free of charge. We're gonna serve a meal during that time as well, that Lions and Rotary are donating the money and doing all the prep work for. Hiawatha Valley Mental Health is again doing a lot of the funding for advertising, and they got some grants to cover the cost of the program and everything else. So we're really excited to have kind of essentially this whole day of mental health and wellness. And assuming it goes well, we can like to turn this into a, every year we would do something similar. This year is gonna be focused fairly heavily on suicide awareness, prevention, warning signs, things of that nature, with a few other things worked into it. Next year might be a slightly different topic, but still mental health and wellness.
I had a parent reach out and go, can we do this for younger ages moving forward with the mental health awareness? And
Well-
I didn't know where the cutoff was and why.
Right, and it's something that several groups kind of came to the same agreement, that like
Okay.
7th grade up is actually the appropriate age group. Because then you're talking about 12-year-olds and higher.
Okay.
Given the nature of this topic, they didn't think it was appropriate, and that's our Student Support Services PLC thought that, Hiawatha Mental Valley Health thought that, and then also AIDS Light organization, that's what they recommend.
Fair
And
enough.
then 7th and 8th grade curriculum, mental health as well, and she's doing some pop-up, like,
Yeah, for health. Yeah.
So,
This parent has more elementary, she's wondering if there could be, again, maybe a different thing in the
Well,
future.
they have some SEL, social emotional learning curriculum that they do on a regular basis.
Okay.
So that is being addressed in a different way, smaller doses, more consistent.
a little more age appropriate.
Correct.
And I just have to shout out right now, this has been so incredibly well planned and talked about, and it is just, it was the best decision that the district could have made to put this off, because now it does have the time to be what it should be and what it is, and just hats off to everyone that's been working on this, because I know it's been countless hours.
Excellent work.
Let us know if we can do anything now. You're welcome to come. I mean, part of the reason we're doing the community event, going back to your point, is that if there is a family that says, well, my 5th grader is mature enough to handle this, okay, bring him to the community event. So that's a piece that is kind of in there that we're excited to have.
Okay.
But communications will start going out probably Wednesday of next week, because that puts me 6 weeks away from the event. So we'll have message, and there's documents upon documents, so there's a lot of information out there for people who want to view it. But it will go 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 days, and then some of the day of these.
Does the community have to sign up to attend then?
There's no RSVP, there's no, so you show up, hopefully we don't run out of food, but I think they're planning for about 200 to 250 meals.
I'm thrilled for the just additional how to handle stress coping skills, especially for the seniors at this time of the year.
Yeah, and it's something that, for the activities, we are gonna separate back into middle school, high school, just for some age appropriate pieces. But, students have the option to go and travel and kind of go to which activity speaks to them the most. Staff are just starting to work on kind of their activities and coming up with, things that they want to do. Some of them so far, One is gonna do like just some little crafts while talking about managing stress and anxiety. We're gonna have a yoga class, we're gonna have some mindfulness. There's gonna be a quiet reading room, there's gonna be some coloring.
Is the staff excited to pick these
Staff are
activities
excited.
and be involved in that process? That's really awesome.
One group is gonna build like little succulent fairy gardens and like, just things that not only help to decrease stress, but also that hopefully someone might find an interest in, or I actually feel really good after doing a puzzle. So maybe that's something that I can do at home when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can get a puzzle and I can sit down and do this. Or I forgot how much fun it is to just color. And that's something that staff will be talking about a lot of as they're going through that, is that this is something you can do for almost no money that helps you feel good. So we're excited.
Great work.
Awesome, thank you, Jacob.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, this is
The flyer.
if you wanna see the flyer, that's for the community event.
Can I put this down?
Yes.
This is Carol Merrill, please.
Hold it for the rest.
Yes, ban is done. All right.
Exhibit A.
Middle school.
Middle school, I love my PBIS initiative updates. Last week on Tuesday, we had an all-school assembly at the end of the day to recognize all of our special award winners. And then our sixth grade team did an excellent job of arranging that. It's always fun to see the kids up there cheering, chanting each other on. And I get to do little cheer at the start. That's always fun to kind of get them rolling. And then we do 2 outings every year, or every school year, and one was bowling, and then on Thursday of last week, because if you're a middle school, elementary, maybe even high school person, you know that kids are a little crazy during Valentine's week, especially that last day. So we had it be Thursday that they attend a movie at the Rivoli. And they did an excellent job. I think there were some things, like maybe by the end of the day, but overall, the kids did a nice job of showing their Lancer Way skills out in the community. Staff development, Monday, we also had staff that continued their asynchronous work with letters training. The rest of the staff engaged in action card review related to just what we're doing this year and what our goals are this year. And then in the afternoon, those staff joined the high school staff to explore the Magic School, an AI platform. And there was a lot of great things that were learned and shared amongst themselves on Monday. Academics, and Ms. Barnard is actually here. We had Isaac Mesra from Western. He visited and presented our STEM students. Our STEM is our specials class in the 8th grade. And we had 5 students that had attended the STEM Advanced Manufacturing Day at Western, and so we were able to honor them. He talked a little bit about STEM opportunities to the kids, really nice, but good way for me to say thank you to Ms. Barnhart for her work and taking that over this year as the teacher. So that was exciting and kind of fun. And then, let's see, looking ahead, we've started discussions on fourth grade transition, how we're gonna make kids feel welcome and comfortable here at the middle school. We've done certain things and we're trying to just make that as the best we can for them. Our staff does a great job, but we're starting that planning now as well. Last week I was able to pop in when Ms. Tanky, the school counselor at the high school, talked to our 8th grade students in their English classes about registration and options and graduation requirements, touch base on some post-secondary, like just to think about. She did an excellent job and the kids did a great job of listening and covering, and I'm sure there's a lot that they were like, what? It's a lot of information for them, but it's also really exciting because they get to make some choices. Maybe not write as many as 9th graders, but as they were able to look ahead, these are some things to look forward to. MCAs and MCAS testing will begin at the end of March, mid to late March, so we're continuing that planning. I am with the building principals. And the partnership committee, my parent committee, we're kind of toying with what time and what days to meet. So it might be, but those are being scheduled. And then acknowledgement. I want to thank everybody for their support in losing a student. Having Eric Morgan there was very, very appreciated, just as a support, because he didn't just do that. He's like, where can I be? And he helped down at the lunchroom with our surgery, because we have staff everywhere trying to help and support. And it truly was that team effort to come together and make sure that we were covering all the bases. And we learned from some things from that. But again, a testament to my staff. It's very difficult as adults, but to stand in front of kids and deliver a message. We did have students that there was a few students that didn't know the news. But I feel like staff felt supported. They felt like they could also talk with support folks if necessary. We did have some folks take advantage of that. But I thought that we covered every type of grief that how people deal with grief. 7th grade were a little different because it was a 7th grade student. But everybody just were amazing. And I can't say enough about, that acknowledgement of it just going through that. It's something you never want to deal with, and unfortunately I've dealt with more than this time either, and it never gets easier. But Darcy, everybody who saw me out, and thank you for checking in on me. I felt that was really kind of you as well. So thank you for that. That's any questions?
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
What is letters training again?
Language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling,
Okay,
Requires the
It is.
Read Act.
This,
144 hours.
this
Okay.
is, letters is one of 3 types of training that was identified by the Department of Ed in the legislative session 23-24.
okay,
Every teacher is required to do it in 2 phases.
okay,
The first phase is anyone in an elementary school or that teaches reading, if you're a reading interventionist or specialist, admin, preschool. And then phase 2 will be a smaller group, and that will be like the high school teachers of reading, et cetera.
and is that on top of their traditional continuing ed requirements?
Yes.
Wow,
It's very intensive. Now, to our staff's credit, and this is where I say again, like we've said repeatedly, we have incredible staff members. This is a lot of time. It's eating into a lot of the stuff. It can be incredibly frustrating at times to try and figure out how you get everything else done at the same time. However, every person I've talked to has talked about how incredible the actual training is and how it's gonna make a difference in what they're doing and how they're presenting. We have situations already where we'll meet with the MTSS team, et cetera, and they're talking about just changing this has made a difference in how our kids are moving forward and what they're doing. So really great stuff, but intense.
It's beneficial at least.
Mm-hmm.
Was that school specific or a statewide requirement? Okay.
Statewide requirement, but schools were given the choice of one of 3 different training programs to use.
Got it.
I'm doing I had a choice between letters at Houston or the core reading, and I did core reading, but it is a lot. Both of them are, it's a college course,
Sure.
so.
And the 3rd one was carry-all. So those were the 3 options.
I'd like to make a motion to have Paige do our voicemail for
I'll second.
I don't know if they know where they'd be calling.
You can come back. Why is this person from Texas calling me? Like,
Or at least
Southern
maybe the-
Minnesota.
Yeah, Southern Minnesota.
Oh, my Lord.
See, that was a good, we need to stop there. We're not gonna beat that joke, so.
That's awesome.
All right.
And I mention too that our middle school staff, and I have to say this, that they're also implementing a brand new ELA
Yes.
curriculum. So it's a lot, so
What's
just
ELA?
English language
Oh,
arts.
thank you.
So they're, their regular like curriculum too. So it's been a heavy ask this year for them with letters training and
Is there anything as a district we can do to help support? And by that, I mean, newer board members, you may not know this, but the teachers union has been very, very helpful to the district in the past by kicking back teacher development monies to us to the tune of thousands and thousands of dollars to help offset budget. And so, you know, I know that we bring in continuing ed speakers all the time, but I mean, if there's a website or something that we can help, we should be doing that, so,
That was why we did the survey
okay.
of all the staff, is to find out what is it, where are you at, and to try and get a group feel and that. You're never gonna have everyone in the group.
Well, sure.
You know, but
Okay, very
that
good.
was what we looked for.
Thank you, please continue.
Any other questions? Elementary.
I've got a few things highlighted for you, and I catch myself using acronyms like ELA or MTSS or SABRS, which is also an acronym. So I've got those highlighted. If you're interested in learning more, those are hot linked into, you can see what the MTSS pyramid is, and you can see what a social academic emotional behavior rating scale is and how it helps us meet student needs. But most importantly, we had Appleseed in our building, performing where we used to have our board meetings. And it's just a fun way to bring the arts to the kids. And then in the evening or on that weekend, kids can go support the arts as well. So that was a fun little aside to bring them into the building. Is focused on literacy as well, Frog and Toad, our friends. And let's see, we're working on kindness this coming month, which kind of goes along with the Valentine's Day theme. And each month we have a value that we focus on, because we are respectful, responsible, and safe. And then going beyond that, we focus on generosity around the holiday season, for example, or kindness around the February 14th holiday. So highlighting that virtue among our students. And then what else do I have linked there? The most recent newsletter, couple events that you're invited to. Bringing Books to Life is a cherished, time-honored tradition where we do basically storybook character reading and people in costume that aligns with Read Across America Week. And so if you have elementary kids, they'll want to dress up in something other than Captain Underpants. And have a lot of fun with that. We have a book fair coming up that corresponds with teacher conferences, March 3rd through 5th. So huge thank you to the PTO and all the work that they do to make the book fair happen. Most importantly, Eric, next Tuesday, Kindergarten Roundup. We'll see you there. And we've got a full set of Chromebooks charged up and ready to go. Birth certificate optional. We are already exceeding our normal rate. Huge thank you. I think we should give you a round of applause, Mandy Lenzer, for helping us round up kindergartners. Some really innovative and fun ideas. Coach Donovan as well, bringing kids in to interview the staff, kind of doing little podcasts and videos just to create a buzz around kindergarten registration. So we're excited about that. Appreciate those fresh ideas. They seem to be getting some traction. So
It's like a Morton holiday.
it is.
Well, you know,
So it is open to the public. So stop by next Tuesday. And I
how
think,
many are you expecting? Are you hoping for?
boy, if we
Or
get.
planning?
I mean, for the original open house night,
Yeah.
we typically get in the 40-somethings.
Yeah.
I don't know that they all sign on the dotted line
Sure.
that night, but we'll do a photo booth and we'll do a tour, like a passport, to meet the teacher, get a cookie, lots of,
Mascot.
probably Lance will probably make an appearance there.
And
So-
we'll probably do the little, what are they called, the little pop-ups for the photo booth where.
Right.
Because mind you, we are looking at La Crescent Hoka graduating class of 2038
Oh,
that will
Yeah.
be coming in. So just letting you know.
Just making yourself feel old.
It's like,
Wow, class of 2038.
Yeah, it's good. And I think, is that what I had for pictures? Or then another one is a link to a video of kind of promoting that kindergarten buzz. So you can click on that at your leisure.
Thank you.
You bet.
Good job.
Any questions for Jeff?
Just to remind me, because it's been a long time, this is 5-year-olds we're looking for. That's
Yes,
on the-
age 5 by September 1st. Screened and immunized.
Inoculated.
All right, let's move on. Community Ed, what you got there?
Kids Company will also have a booth at the kindergarten roundup, so we can get parents registered for summer if they want to join us this summer ahead of the school year. If they aren't already with us in preschool, that's something that a lot of families enjoy. Kids co-registration is taking a lot of time right now. We launched it for summer on, we launch it every year, February 15th through March 15th for summer registration, and this year our software has decided to not cooperate. So I spent a good deal of time on hold with tech support today, and even they're not able to fix our issues yet. So we're working on that. Parents are being very patient. But yeah, hopefully we'll get worked through that pretty quick. Also with Kids Company, earlier this month, Katie and I were able to go, Katie the coordinator and I were able to go up to Minneapolis for the Minnesota School Age Care Association, a part of Community Ed Association, held up an activity fair where every group brought their best of kid favorite activity to share, and then everybody got to go around and collect all the best ideas. So that was a lot of fun. Our Superhero Sundance is this Saturday. Looking forward to that, and yeah, busy time of year, getting ready for summer.
Summer.
Summer. Doesn't feel like it now, but
It may be loaded, Beth, but how is Kids Co enrollment looking? Are you waiting?
Over the
to-
top.
You are, okay. I just was
we were over
curious if
100
you
again
needed-
today.
Oh,
And that's
good.
just with K4, that doesn't include the 38 preschoolers.
Wow,
So yeah,
You're busy.
we need more staff.
Yes,
Yep.
holy moly, okay.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Building and grounds.
New staff, Maria Mensink, we just hired her, she's in the picture down below. And then we got the chillers were filled. I can't remember the date, was it last? Guess I could probably look at it. Last Monday.
Cool.
So they were filled, they busted a hose, they had to get that repaired, and then they finished up later in the day. We replaced a handicap closer and controls on this door here because it was failing. We're running into an issue that most of them are gonna have to get replaced. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I believe they're all about 25 years old. That's gonna have to be probably a work in process as we replace all the entrance doors and everything else, so. I know next summer, this coming summer, we're replacing the auditorium doors, so we'll probably look at replacing that closer as well. Yeah, that's about it. We had a facility committee meeting before this and may have another one next month, we'll see.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Activities.
All right, our winter sports season's winding down here. Hasn't maybe been what some of the teams' expectations were, but we've had tremendous growth through the year. Our girls' basketball team last night had played their best game of the year. Savannah Klinsky hit a buzzer beater at halftime to put us up by 1, and then we just took off from there.
Cool.
So it was cool to see that. We won it. That was a playoff game. We won that. We're going to Caledonia tomorrow night. The boys' basketball team is at 11-13. They've got a home game tomorrow night, a away game Friday, and then sections next week will start next week for them. Wrestling, I got a chance to go back to Casson the other day and see some friends last week as we competed in team there, and the individual tournament will start on Friday. Then our hockey team had received the 8 seed, had a great third period, an exciting game last night, and they moved on in sections to go to Northfield. Spring schedule's ready to go, just rounding out a couple officials. Hopefully Wade takes a couple baseball spots. We got registration open on the 28th. Actually, that I have April, but it's actually February 28th. And, the March sixth, we have our spring sports meeting, the kickoff meeting, and then we'll have a coaches, training here before that. And then get ready to go for the spring season. This one's stressing the importance of assistant coaches in the programs, of what impact they have as assistant coaches and how important they are. Robotics is getting ready at the end of the month. They're going to Duluth. We just had a scrimmage here over the weekend. And then our athletic leadership council is working with Mandy. We got a couple tweaks. Hopefully we're gonna get this video out over the weekend or by Friday, for our kindergarten roundup. And then on there, I just got what's left for our varsity upcoming games, so. That's it.
Thank you, Terry.
Any questions?
Wrestling individuals is home.
No, Rochester Civic Center.
No, I added today as I was trying to get this. That's all of the varsity events,
Okay.
period. They're in Rochester.
Mindy?
Alright, so for the most part, I'm gonna highlight just a couple things out of my report, but it's pretty much as submitted. The beginning of this report, I'm making sure I'm giving the board a lot of information coming out from MDE and at the state level, because there is a lot of conversation going on about what are the federal mandates doing and how is that gonna impact schools and how will it impact Minnesota? Okay, and our kids here. So there's a lot of crossover, a lot of gray area in that. So I just want you guys to have as much information on that as you possibly can. The email from the commissioner that's there just came today, and it has a lot of great links to click into that will kind of explain some different things. Down a little bit further, I put the link in there. We're gonna talk about the student survey later on in the meeting. There's a link there going to those. We have 2 policies that will be on the agenda for the next meeting. We need to make sure that policy 522, the Title IX sex non-discrimination policy, is reverted back to the one that was MSBA approved in 2022. And that, because we've got the new one, there were some language changes there, that are no longer part of Title IX. And we also have a policy that will go with our handbook that MSBA put together as a model policy, is 524.5 for personal electronic communication devices. So this is an answer to Minnesota statute, let me think, it's 122A, I can't remember, 25 maybe? And that, it talks about all devices, so it's not just cell phones, but it's no cell phone use in the classroom, but it goes into smartwatches and everything else, the way that's written. And that will just be tuned in to follow what our handbook says. Okay. And so I've been to legislative meetings, I've done a few things like that, you've got board calendar events coming up. But the main thing I wanted to talk about right now, because we're in the legislative session, we're getting ready to go into negotiations. I want the board to understand some of the things that are going on with the underfunded or unfunded mandates that were put in front of all school districts across the state in the last, in that last legislative session. Couple of the things that are happening now. So when we're talking about funding, when we're talking about looking at where do we go next, there are some things that we're gonna have to address as a board. One of them is right now in the governor's plan, he has reduced special ed transportation aid from 100% to 95%. And there's talk that might go down even further. How that affects our district, if you were 100% funded, the 100% funding gives us back $76,786. We're gonna have to find nearly another $4,000 to get just for that 5%, okay? That doesn't seem like a big deal, but when I start adding some of these other numbers in here. Special ed cross subsidy was supposed to continue to increase, and there's a very good chance that that's not going to, that's gonna be put on hold for a while. Special ed cross subsidy. And I will put together some more information on this. The summer unemployment, I presented to the board what summer unemployment costs the district a few board meetings ago. Last year for fiscal year 25 into fiscal year, it was about $77,000 that the unemployment cost us, okay? That ends funding. The state is not funding that anymore after they won't fund it in fiscal 26. So because of the way a school district fiscal year works, we will have one part of the fiscal year, about a third, that goes from the end of school till June 30th. Then the next two will be in FY 26. So if it ends in FY 25, and that was 77,000, only about a third will be covered. And so we're gonna have to figure out where we come up with at least 50 grand for unemployment this summer. And then probably going forward from that, it's gonna be at least 80 grand the next year. And that's if they don't make any changes. Some of the legislative workshops that I've been to lately, today especially, there is no traction from what our lobbyists are telling us with the legislature saying that they're gonna forgive school districts from unemployment. So that doesn't look like it's gonna be a thing. They are saying you could levy for it, but that's gonna be another levy that you as a board will have to decide if you're gonna impose on the taxpayers.
Right. And pardon me,
Yeah.
Amy, what did you say the special ed cross subsidy was?
Special ed cross subsidy is, there's a formula for it that I can give you all the details to.
Sure.
But all the costs for special ed are
Okay,
put together and they're funded at a certain percentage.
got it.
And
what
then
is
the
that
rest of it has to come out of our general fund, et cetera.
Sure.
And I'll look at
Oh.
what the exact percentages
No
because,
rush, yeah, thank you.
And that percentage is just going down or it's ending?
well, it was supposed to increase. They wanted to have it continuing to increase in FY 25, 26, 27, 20, all the way up through there. But now they're saying they're gonna freeze it. And so, and depending on who you listen to or ask, if they're Debbie Downers or if they're up, if they're a Debbie Downer, they're saying it's probably gonna go back to what it was. But right now, it's just kind of all up in the air. Paid family medical leave is another one that's gonna impact our district a lot. Paid family medical leave tax, I think they're talking about it going up about 1%. So that is, and so we're looking at anywhere between another 50 to 90K that we'll have to find for that. TRA, the employer contribution to TRA is projected to go up from 8.75% to 9.1%, which would be an increase of about a 0.35%, which is gonna probably equate for our district somewhere upwards of 100,000. The curriculum training, which are other unfunded or underfunded mandates, the letters training, the READ training. We were given a small amount of funding for that. Our district got about 43,000. And that nowhere near covers what we need and what it would cost us to do all the training, the extra time. And then for the 144 hours, they were very kind in changing the statute for student contact hours. They gave us 5.5 hours that we don't have to have school in order to do the READ Act. The curriculum and training changes that they put in between READ Act, personal finance, the required courses, materials, teachers training, et cetera, is probably gonna cost a district our size about $230,000 to get that all in. We're fortunate because of the way our contract is and how we work that out, both of our contracts, that the earned sick and safe time is not an issue for our district. That's gonna be one area where we don't have to worry too much about it. But all of the things like the SPED services, the English language learner programs, mental health services, summer employment, ESST, and paid FMLA are gonna mount up to a great deal of additional cost to our district. And so I just wanna make sure that we're talking about that I'm putting it out there, that I'm reminding you that this is what's gonna happen, because we have to go into, other times where, and our numbers have decreased over the last couple of years. So like Darcy said to begin with, it's gonna be really important that we start building numbers in our school district. Let me see. What they're talking right now for a percentage on the formula, they're talking maybe 2.75%, but it could be as low as 2%, it could be as high as 3%. And then those calculations will be redone based on the consumer price index each year. So they could be different percentages each of the 2 years, depending on what the consumer price index does.
Did you say low as 2?
Huh?
2?
Lowest 2, and then 3 is the high. And then they also did put in a little bit of in the last legislative session, they put in a little bit of a cost of living increase to the formula. So what we're lobbying for and hoping for as a district is that 2 to 3 will be on top of, as opposed to, it just being cut in there. Because there hasn't been a cost of living increase to the formula for ever. And so we're considerably behind. Just kind of wanted to quick update on that, but that you're gonna hear me talking a lot about that coming up, and what are the things that are out in front of the legislature right now. We've got a couple things happening, compensatory is gonna be a big deal, and there's a bill in the House, and there's a bill in the Senate, talking about different ways to handle that and what we're gonna do, so. And then the local optional revenue levy, that's another thing that is House File 490. And Myers is looking to increase that to $974 from $724. So that would be a help there. And that's the local levy that you guys can say, yes, we're gonna do this, and we always look, are we gonna do the max or what are we gonna do? LTFM and roofs, that's Vernig and Bakeberg, I think, are the two that are working on that one. And that's House File 50, I think I can't read my writing, 51 or 57, and Senate File 1198. So just some of those things that you might wanna look for. Anticipated budget targets should be coming out around March 6th. I know, like I had told Wade earlier when I talked to him today, the governor right now is looking at keeping things going for education, but there's talk about potential cutbacks in other areas. And so that's kind of where we're at. Any questions?
Thanks, Mindy.
No,
Thank you. Thank you.
So, can I mention a little restricted to the, we're gonna talk about that later, what I wanna do for the,
Oh, yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
Part of, we have a general reserve fund that we have our money in there. What we're looking at is maybe having another fund with a restricted fund, our own internal restricted fund to help budget for these costs coming up, because we need to make sure these are accounted for before we start looking at other things and like, oh shoot, we didn't realize these other things. So, of course, you'd see both sides of the on there, but I think we might have to do something with that, and we'll work when the finance manager gets back and see how that.
I believe we started that
we started
last
that,
year.
we started that under my watch.
Yeah.
La Crescent didn't have
Right.
any restricted funds prior to that, and there wasn't anything that was like forward planned.
Right.
So like, if you needed to replace furniture, or all of those things, we didn't have a reserve for that, or like the furnaces here.
The long-term facility.
Yeah, and so those are things we've started, but we've been talking that we're gonna have to keep going with that and really give some mindful thought. The other thing I'm looking to do is an enrollment survey. So we're looking to do an enrollment projection survey that will actually look at birth rates in the county, et cetera. It's a little bit different doing it in a border school because our babies aren't born in La Crescent,
Right.
okay? Our babies aren't born on this side of the river. And so it's really hard to work with another state to try and get that data. And so that's what,
Did you say somebody had that data for us, somebody at the Southeast Cooperative or?
Well, we actually did this in like 2015.
yeah, I've got the old one.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got the old one. When we were talking about it, the group we use, SMS, does have a module to do this.
Okay.
Looking into that, Teamworks also has a module that'll do this.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of investigating those and seeing which would be the most cost effective for the district and give us the best data. But it would be very nice to have that enrollment projection survey. You know, Julie and I have worked really hard together to make sure that we're being responsible with what we have and that we're right sizing as we need to. However, it gets to a point where how much more right sizing can you do, and we need to be able to look out to the future to say, this is where we're gonna be.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you.
On a side note, who here was born in Houston County?
Where?
The Caledonia Hospital.
Wow.
Back in the day.
And he was born next to a
I thought you.
Mandy's son Kate.
There's a cow.
Yeah, I had
Anyone here
Mr.
born in
Cumber.
Minnesota? Wow.
Well, I was born in Minnesota.
Okay. Well, I'm pure, all right. Is that Mr. Foreman?
It is.
I think you're up.
I am. And I was born to a she-wolf in
In Iowa?
Wyoming cave.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here for Val Von Arx. Many of you probably have seen her. I'm just sitting in for her. And we've got a lot of exciting things going on at the high school, at the middle school, and the elementary. So this is our news from the classroom. In AP Psychology, they issued a sock baby, birthday, gender reveal, cupcake party, set the stage for their development unit. And students were cared for their sock baby for 2 weeks, recorded milestones, development, attachment styles, and then they analyzed their own parenting style. Childcare for work and after-school activities was arranged by students as needed. And speaking with some of them, that was an eye-opening experience. It was also one that was fairly enjoyable. I told them it was much more enjoyable than having a real son. Well, it didn't want my issues.
less disappointing.
You're gonna be invited back if you
He's got a future.
We also had AP Psychology, aging simulation. Students attempted routine tasks while experiencing hearing loss, various vision complications, including glaucoma, AMD, and then joint mobility of hands, feet, and knees. Again, I told them that aging is a lot more difficult than any simulation. I myself make noises every time I get up. I have to hook my feet on the coffee table to get myself out of the couch, but anyways, here we go. Dr. Mark Crosby, radiation oncologist, visited Ms. Hawk's classroom and the science department and their atomic structure and nuclear chemistry unit. Students listened to him tell how he and his team use nuclear medicine to treat cancer. And again, science is amazing. There were students who stuck around after that class. I happened to jump in and was able to observe at the end, and there were 3 or 4 students who stayed behind asking follow-up questions. This was an excellent experience for students. The LINK crew training, there were 3 leaders, Ms. Hazel, Ms. Tanky, and Ms. Nicolati, went to an intensive 3-day training in Minneapolis, full of learning and activities to incorporate into their LINK leader program. But also, all 3 of them indicated that there were a lot of the activities that were germane to their classrooms as well, and so they could use those for that purpose. I think there are 2 slides that are the same. Apologize for that. Profe Spanish class is always a flair going on in Spanish class. New semester started by students talking in a restorative circle about school, education, skills built in school. And the entire thing is important to foster a community of respect and to ensure that students are honored. Each student had the opportunity to practice active and attentive listening. They identified what helps them learn, and they participated actively in a puzzle activity that one of the English language arts teacher, not me, for the record, introduced to Profe. And it essentially demonstrated how each of them is unique, but they all fit together and all need to work together in order to figure things out. The 8th grade STEM students presented with a plaque for their successful participation in the Advanced Manufacturing Day at Western Tech. STEM program also received a gift card to Menards to purchase materials for class use. And at the elementary, the slide 1st grade music robot conversations, learning about pitch and how some sounds remain the same. Elementary school newsletter was linked. Student-centered flexible seating and speech therapy. Ms. Bangura's speech therapy class had multiple seating options to facilitate learning, focus through sensory regulation while staying engaged. Students were encouraged to find seating that matched their learning preferences while fostering a sense of community and positive social interactions. Middle school Lancer Way Day. The middle school held the Lancer Way Day assembly prior to their trip to the Rivoli. Students were not only recognized for their positive behaviors, but also competed in several challenges. From limbo and cup toppling to stacking dice, students were full of smiles. Then each grade level made a trip to the Rivoli to watch a movie and enjoy some snacks. 8th grade country tour. 8th grade students continue their journey through the world of geography, presenting a European country to the 5th grade students. Interesting facts were connected to a game of bingo for the younger students. And that was our slideshow from News for the Classroom.
Thank you. Any questions? Natural.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, review and informational items. The budget and balance sheet, do we want to touch on that a bit, or just kind of?
Pop it up if people want to take a look.
You can talk about the balance sheet.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna get a lot of conversation on the balance sheet, so moving on. Enrollment. I see a big reduction in the top category.
This is probably due in large to the skewed numbers for ECSE. Beth and I did not get a chance to connect this last month, so that's why that's highlighted in red, because there will likely be a revision of number of students.
Okay.
So more will show up.
ECSE students aren't counted as 1.0 enrollment, so there's, depending on their ages and what their services are, they might be 0.28, they might be, that's different weights. So I think that's why the report just perhaps pulled it up incorrectly, so
Gotcha.
Again, Mandy and I haven't had a chance to.
The
We need to get Mary Ann involved.
The other change may be the number of students that went to online and PSEO. I can't remember how that affects that bottom line. But we did have an increase there.
Alright.
With change of semester.
That is a big increase.
All right, we'll see you again in March, I guess. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? All right, student behavior. Any questions on the student behavior chart? Consistent? Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, we
You
appreciate
guys are
that.
doing a good job.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Donations first.
Huh, Philip, what?
We'll pull up donations.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
You missed it, Mark.
I will second.
okay.
Thank you
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry, recognize the donations
Thank you
here?
for the donations.
Okay, yeah, I missed it on my thing.
Noodles, hey.
Yeah.
Chipotle night.
Do we have some good cards? And
I will get, yep, I'll make sure.
one of the things, just to do a shout out, that I just found out the other day, we were fortunate enough to receive a donation from a community member of $10,000 for improvements in the auditorium.
Nice.
And so we will be getting, that'll be coming up.
Okay.
On next month's donations, but that just came through. So $10,000, and the first purchase we made is we needed a new keyboard, because the keyboard that was used by everyone needed to be down. It was done, it died. So, new electronic keyboard that we purchased first.
Excellent.
Does that rise to, naming the first row the Stanley Roper, or whatever? I mean, should we put a plaque up or something?
Yeah, I think that the $10,000 is a very
that's a
significant, that is a very
sizable-
sizable
Would that
donation.
do anything? Would they be appreciative or?
I will look into it, yeah.
Okay.
I will look into that.
First, we might not even know the name, so we will hold
Yeah.
off. Okay, all right.
How much would you give to a spot in the auditorium named the Eric Markin Luxury Lounge?
I would get $10,001 were I to have that.
Bring fine theater seating.
Well, if I hit the lottery, there'll be signs.
All right. Moving back to my consent agenda, which I jumped from, I have a motion to approve by Eric and seconded by Darcy. Is there any discussion?
Is the para that is on here, is that elementary school?
Middle school.
Middle school?
Do we need one in the elementary?
No, I was just curious as to where.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a little kudos to Maria, the new custodian. She has hit the ground running. I mean,
Literally.
she is literally running. Well, maybe not literally running. I hate it when people misuse that, so I should be careful now. She's walking very briskly in her duties. And she is attacking the bathrooms. They look cleaner, they smell better. I walked into the men's restroom the other day and there was an air freshener in there with ample supplies. Students are noticing it, staff is noticing it. She takes pride in what she does, you can tell, and she's very dedicated.
What was her name again?
Maria.
Maria, okay.
Maybe you should give her a shrimp book.
I don't know what that is, but okay, anyway. Well, thank you for shouting out to Maria.
Yeah.
All right.
I do, Eric,
I love to hear that.
and I know who Stanley Roper is.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, the picture we saw earlier, okay, all right. Hearing no discussion, proceed to vote on the motion for the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes. All right, moving on to the action items, the superintendent search. Were you able to, I sent that information out, and in the past, we have gone with MSBA. With that, we don't have to go with MSBA, but that's where everyone who is a superintendent tends to look in the state. Some of the bigger districts go with larger firms, they tend to be more expensive, they look more out of state. I would recommend going with MSBA, but I think that's what we're here to vote on tonight. And also, I think we have two tiers. We're looking at the first tier, which is more limited, which is around $2,700, I don't wanna misquote. 29, okay, thank you. And the second one, which is around 8,800, help me here, Brandon, leave me hanging.
79.
79, I rounded up, okay. In the past, we have always went with the higher cost one, just because of the different things that go into a superintendent search. Folks have been through it before. There's a number of things you do with the community involvement, how you gather the information, what can be asked, the interview questions, coordinating the round with administration, with the community, with the final one, the notifications to the public. We can do it internally, but it is a lot of work, and I think Mandy, you had reached out, a lot of it, Mandy said she could do. That's very honorable, because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Because there's a lot of legal and required.
There is a number of
public-
things that go legally into how we recruit a superintendent and the notifications that go into it as well.
Yes.
Even the collecting of the questions and things like that, what can be left, what cannot. When we're sent resumes, how we get rid of them at the end, we bring them back. So it's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. So open for discussion now about the superintendent.
What do you think are the things that if we went with the cheaper one would be the most missed of the items that are crossed out?
I guess off the top of my head, I would think with the community involvement, the coordinating of that, and with the, them coming here to be part of the interview process, because lots of times we would have questions, hey, can we do this, can we ask that? I think Mr. Mork and I always got involved in trying to do follow-up questions, they'd be going like, Nick say, just because we're not supposed to go off script, because we didn't ask the same question to each candidate. So there's different legality things that pop up, and having them here with that has given us good guidance in the past.
Have we been able to submit questions to them to add for all the candidates in the
Yeah,
past?
what we usually do with that is, let's say you have a specific thing, and let's say you're very interested in math curriculum, and you say you'd like that as one of the questions. We send all the questions we like to them, they'll bring it back to us, and then us as a board will vote on what questions we think would go forward. Eric and people have been through it before, please jump in if there's something I'm saying that maybe isn't completely correct.
So they'll, oh, you weren't, okay.
When I did it, when,
I was always-
okay.
So they'll come down and it'll be a painful meeting. They'll ask all kinds of questions. I mean, sarcastic, very thorough meeting. Know what's important to you as a board. You'll look at like 300, different types of questions. You can tailor it and customize it to your heart's content. I mean, there's no shortness of being able to put your stamp of your fingerprint on it. I mean, I think MSBA is the way to go. I'm gonna vote for the $8,800 one. I talked to a former superintendent from Faribault, Todd Sesker, who some of you met up at MSBA. He was hired through a professional outside of MSBA, and the only reason that they chose they went that way is because one of the board members owned an HR company. Total, it just was and he said 99% of their, unless it's, St. Paul School District or Minneapolis, and they're talking about a $400,000 contract, they're using MSBA. I mean, we're kind of dog match down here, it's, MSBA gives us a lot of value, and I think it is well worth the extra $5,000 to get that extra package, but I want to sell them, so. But they'll come down and, there'll be all kinds of communication from Amy,
Jordan, Amy Jordan, yeah.
And, and, we'll all have a chance, we'll all be involved in it, and I mean, that's our job, is to hire a superintendent. I mean, that's the one thing that we do.
Nikki, you had a question.
I had no question, I just wanted to, I'm sending appreciation to Mandy, I know that you were ready to tackle the beast. My concern is it might be a little deeper than you thought it was. And not that I don't think our MSBA wouldn't be able to involve us in the process, like to help where we can step in and help where we can, but I'm in agreement with Eric with the tier 2.
Brandon, did you have another question? You were reading that very intently.
I just know I just heard from our current superintendent that we're struggling with some things, and I don't know if I agree with going to the MSBA's. I just am not entirely sold on the extra $5,000 yet. So I'd like other feedback of what people think. Or what the value is.
I don't like spending money at all, but I wasn't involved in the other process, so I don't.
To be fair, I've never been part when we haven't gone with the top tier, so I don't exactly know. All I know is that it's more work for us. Does that matter? No, I think we're all up for work. It's just a matter of do we have the expertise to pull this off. I think Dover Yoda one time didn't use MSBA at all. They just advertised on their own, which it's possible to do. You put an ad out there, you interview candidates, you bring them in.
You Craigslist, Backpage.
I do, is Craigslist still a thing? But anyway, I don't know, but they got one.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, sure.
And I agree with Brandon, after what Mindy, was all the numbers that she was telling us, I mean, that's a lot.
It is a
An
lot.
extra 5,000.
Wait, how many times have you been through the process? And
6.
between the two of you?
6, that's rounding up a bit, I think 4, 3, 3 for sure.
Well, we've had 4 since
3.
I've been, 3.
With Kevin, 3 for sure.
Process.
Yeah, 3 through the process, yeah.
Because of interims, right. Yeah.
One thing that I can say too is there are extensive files and records from previous searches that would aid in a lot of the items that are crossed off in the second option.
Mandy, what's your bandwidth?
Well, that's kind of why I sent that out. I think right now I have the extra bandwidth this time of year. It's not as busy, you know, when we get into the summer and registration and beginning of school, that's when it gets to be a little bit more hectic in the district office. And previously I had worked in recruitment before, so I've done some of these things as well. And I just, knowing budgeting and being in different meetings and understanding maybe the other opportunities where people have been denied dollars, and then spending an extra $5,000 is hard when money is being talked about a lot within the district.
Is there an option to go with the first tier and, you know, let's say we're a couple weeks into it and it's really not going well, bump it up and ask them to come in and bail us out?
I guess it might be possible, but at the same time, I think if we go with tier 1, we're gonna go. I've only known Mandy for a short period of time, but I've been very impressed with her ability to do what she says she's going to do. She made fun of me for I think you questioned her one time, so I think, at this point, if it's a little bit cheaper, I've never done it that way, but I'm up game for it. I think we could, I think we have a good board here that, I think we're involved, we show up, look, we're all here. And that's, I think, part of it too, is that we all have to be here through this. It's like interviewing with it too, we have to be the same people. It can't be, Nikki's gonna miss this one, but I can make the other 2.
Yeah,
Nick's saying,
exactly.
You can't,
Yeah,
you can't,
you
it's
need to
not
be
fair.
committed. If
You're
you
all
wanna
right.
say, I'm getting passionate. So I've been through this before, and there were previous board members who would just hang out, and then they'd swoop in at the end and wanna, you know,
Make a
vote and
decision.
castigate, and I'm like, where have you been? And, you know, so, I work in town, so I can be involved. Who, you know, show of hands, who could be involved in this seriously, who can be involved in this superintendent search? Who can,
Yeah, I think we
all
all
of
can,
us?
yeah, I think we can.
You all can commit to being, okay,
And just to be clear, I am happy to do a lot of the administrative behind the scenes work and get things coordinated, but I will need help from everybody on the board.
I trust you, and I do think I've changed my mind on my.
Well, I think we're leaning towards a cheaper motion here.
I would actually like to hear from admin, just their piece on it, like, have you ever been a part of the process in hiring, and what are your thoughts on that?
I would, having been a part of multiple searches here and one prior to being here, one was done completely with no help from MSBA, that was back at RP. And literally, I myself, as the community ed director, had to help collate all of the applications and all of the, I mean, it's just it was all hands on deck.
Sure.
With some of the community involvement, I think there's probably enough left over in the files from the last at least 2 searches that we could either glean information from or, you know, to replicate how we've done those surveys. I do know that even though we paid the higher fee the last 2 times, the admin assists were very busy because MSBA still sent them a lot of tasks to do. So I haven't seen the list of what 2,900 versus 7,900 involves each, but either way, they heavily rely on our local admin assist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not really getting
They're just telling you to do the work.
are you getting
They're
the
dealing
$8,000 worth?
They're dealing the cards.
Well, and also, I mean, we set the rules with what we want, so let's say we have 17 applications. You know, I think in the past, we kind of interviewed 8, we don't have to interview 8. We can take the top 4 that we like, if we want to narrow it down that way. So we have a number of options we can have with that, and our criteria that we want to have moving forward, so it's up to us.
So going back to your question about, say we get this started and 30 days in, we're like, oof, we might need some help.
We would have to pay them the price, I'm sure they would jump back, I think they would jump back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would think they'd be happy to take our.
Yeah, just making sure there isn't like a,
And to be fair, MSBA is there for us. We already pay fees to MSBA, so they're there to support us. So if we do that, I think that would be there, but it's easier, again, for the board members and stuff, and in that legality thing, but I think we can do it. Okay, all right.
We need to save.
I'm just trying to protect Mandy.
Okay, what was that, Peggy?
I don't want you under your desk.
We need to save a little bit. That's just, I mean, I just feel like $8,000 is a lot.
We'll see what it's saving us. I motion.
There we are.
I motion to stay internal with the hiring process
For the tier one,
Okay, okay.
tier, I can't
Pardon
put
me.
words in your mouth, but I
I
was
thought
trying
we
to
were
clarify.
staying internal and seeing how she does it.
No, what she
First.
said is she's able to do most of the things that are crossed
Okay.
off on the tier 1 versus the tier 2.
I still
Okay.
think we need the tier one to get
Okay,
the state,
Okay.
like the,
I retract my motion.
Okay.
Someone else can motion.
yeah, well, the $2,900 one. We still would like their assistance getting the candidate pool, but I don't think
We're
that,
humans.
I make a
motion to go with the tier 1 option
Okay.
for the superintendent search.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and second to go with the tier one for the MSBA superintendent search for around $2,900. Is there any other discussion?
I respectfully decline. We have a budget of what, 12 million? What's $5,000 to help hire a professional? But I'm one of 7.
Fair enough. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to go with tier one for the MSBA superintendent search signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion still passes.
All right.
Nikki and Eric have said nay.
Democracy.
It is. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Student survey. Student survey was supposed to be put out here a short time ago. This was called, what's the name, official name of the survey, Mindy? The
Minnesota Student Survey.
Minnesota Student Survey. It was halted or paused, I think would be the term. That was by me. It was paused by me, some feedback from people, also looking at some local districts who had done some things with that. I met with administration. They weren't happy with me, and I think for good reason. It's something I did enjoy doing. At the same time, I just wanted to make sure that parents were informed, and me not having a child in the district, I think affected part of that, but again, when I was talking to different people, I wanted to make sure that people were informed of it correctly. What we're here tonight now is to discuss is the board wants to go forward with the Minnesota Student Survey. And I think you guys are all sent out things. If you have kids in the district, you're able to look at it before. If it's sent out again, my understanding is it will be sent out with PDFs that are a little bit easier to read and that they can open them up easier on that. I will open that up for discussion at this time.
Do you mean a PDF of the exact survey? Or a link to the exact survey?
The state released additional information last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Right, because it wasn't open to view prior
Correct,
to.
it was not at the time.
They
To the
didn't
date
allow
that they were
a
gonna
link.
do it.
They
Okay.
required folks to come in if you wanted to go into this MDE website to look at past survey questions, responses, et cetera, you could. But then I think more people were asking more questions and they said, hey, then here's a link, which would have been very helpful to include in the communication prior to 2 weeks ago.
So you would send the link?
Well, you requested, yeah, it's up to you guys. If you requested a PDF,
If the PDF was available, I'd like the PDF just because when I was trying to do the links, it was somewhat confusing to get through it.
There's also a PDF of the trauma response informative piece. I think that should probably be sent to parents as well, so they're aware. I was also, just looking under our student surveys, policy, it's number 520. I don't know if you wanna pull it up. It also should be updated. It's 10 years old, on that list of policies that need to be updated. And maybe we put in there, it does say that parents can request to see it, which was hard because Minnesota State wasn't giving it out. But, cause I even asked the state of Minnesota for it and they told me I had to ask you. So they wouldn't even give it to me. So maybe right in our new policy, we state that we will send it out prior to parents versus having them ask for it. And those are things that I would like to see with transparency and communication to families, I guess.
Would there be any issue with, or that would be possible with the, okay.
If the state gives us the information,
Yeah.
Yeah, we just, we follow the state's.
The one thing I will say on this one is none of the administration would wanna overpromise you something. Okay, so I don't think at this point we could say that every survey that comes out from the state, we will get them ahead of time and we can send them out in a PDF. We can do as well with that as possible, given the information the state gives us.
This feels like a timeshare presentation.
A little bit.
So how do you get the test then? Or how do you get the survey?
They send links to the survey.
Okay, but you have
And
to
then we
agree to
pass
get
them
the
out.
survey before they send the link?
Yes, you have to sign up, you have to determine a day for your students to take it.
Okay.
So, part of that is, and then they email the links with specific expectations to follow, which is what you did get a lot of texts and emails, those of you that are parents. Separate communication, they give that breakdown, and in there, then is the links that you send out to teachers that are administering the survey.
And just to clarify, if there's a question that a student is not wanting to answer, they do not have to
They
answer
do
it.
not have to answer.
They can move forward, correct.
Or
And-
they can shut it at any time if they're uncomfortable.
Correct. And the trauma piece, I'm just curious, I didn't see anything in there that seemed to be triggering, so I'm just curious if anybody else.
There's a letter MDA sends to the school to prepare the teachers with the traumatic responses that the survey can bring up in the students. So it's on the website with the student survey information.
I think trauma is something that can be highly personal, and I think that's why anything, we may not see it,
Sure.
but somebody else that may. I think that was part of it a little bit.
Got it, okay.
Brandon, you had a question?
I feel like we're on the slippery slope here. Are we going to approve whether or not we can do the SAFERS training? Is this gonna become a board thing where we approve these types of things?
Along with the SABRS survey, that doesn't align with the student survey policy very well either. So if we need to go back and just redo this policy,
I guess my question is, why are we even talking about this? This is something that I, as a parent, received ample communication that I could opt out my kids, and I don't understand why the board is talking about it. Cause it doesn't make any sense to me.
because I don't think the board or parents in our community knew what was in the survey.
But they had the option to, I received two emails from Fitzloff that said, you can come talk to me, we'll view the survey. I have ample communication. I don't, and if I, as a parent, wanted to opt out, I could sign the sheet that I got sent. So I guess I don't understand why we're talking about it, like why this is a board decision. That's what I would like a little bit more clarification on. Because if we're going to start mandating policies of what teachers can do, and that's not a part of the board I wanna be on.
Well, it's
Because I
already
don't-
a policy talking about it, and so when parents are coming to us asking if we've seen this survey and the questions that are on it and why are we giving this to our kids, then
But they were
we have
instructed to
look
talk
into it.
to the
Admin.
administrators in charge.
We're governance and their management.
Yeah. So I just don't, I feel it's a slippery slope because I don't wanna be analyzing, if some parents have an issue with whatever it is, some topic in curriculum, I don't want that to be a part of a board decision because that's, to me, is a slippery slope between management and that. And I don't see how that's a part, I mean, our job is to supervise the superintendent and to obviously take community input. I'm not saying that community input is bad, I'm just saying I don't really feel comfortable with this.
All right, I understand and I see that. With the Sabre survey, were parents given the opportunity to opt out? Because I don't recall any information on that one. And that one also collects students' personal data when they're taking it, which the policy says it cannot.
That's a diagnostic that's used to identify students who are at risk for mental health concerns, potential suicide, and other items. So that's one where, yes, we do wanna know, because we wanna know.
It assists curriculum drive, right?
Yeah, but the policy says we'll get parental approval with any survey. Is that basically what it says? So I think that's what we're, the slippery slope thing is very verified, and I think we have to verify what that slope is.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm new, so I don't.
And you have a voice, and I think that is,
I just don't.
yeah.
Information and we could pull our kids out. With the Sabres one, we were not.
So
Well, I would say Sabre isn't necessarily a survey. I mean, we're assessing the mental health and wellness of students.
I think if we get too cute, we can lose some, and I think this is a conversation to move beyond this, but I think if we get too cute with how we define things, if we do have a policy, we have to follow it to the best of our ability or change that policy.
Right.
And I think that's where we have to agree with that. Karina, I think your point is well taken. I didn't really like doing this. To be honest, I got a little nervous when I was hearing feedback. I saw other districts pulling out of it, and I met with the principals, and I usually don't like saying what my vote is. I'm gonna approve that we move forward with the survey. I am, and whatever the vote becomes with everyone else, but it's something I want to move forward with. I think it's been clarified now. I think it's valuable, and I think if it's advertised well enough to the parents, they can opt out. And I think having this conversation tonight here is a way to make sure that people are educated by it.
And us as a board, it's our duty to update that policy, so.
And like Brandon said, to stay the heck out of the way of management sometimes. Our job is, how do we define that well? Well said.
Correct.
Is it as simple as amending that policy to, unless the state, you know?
I think there's some language we can get from MSBA with, you're a good wordsmith.
There is.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of
Yes.
policy that we can use. And it is very outdated.
Yeah, it is.
Most of
Danny, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure before I vote to confirm, there is gonna be another email sent out with the links prior to that, with ample.
And that should be in the motion, I guess. if
Well,
we're gonna
I
make
think
a
we,
motion to
I think when we counted, when we were all meeting, there were like 10 different emails that went out
Right,
about it.
the newest one
So,
with the actual,
you know,
text in it, because it was,
Yeah, we have to.
I didn't
start
know
over
what
to
it said in the test until someone else sent it to me, so then it was, that's what a little.
Okay, I think that being part of the motion would be appropriate.
I'm confused.
So the email going out needs to be part of the motion, why?
No,
Yeah,
he's
that's what
saying,
I'm wondering, or well, I mean,
The motion, I will make a motion that we move to approve the send out of the Minnesota student survey along with the information for the parents on the trauma response that it could create as well as the exact questions in the survey.
I don't think,
Well, let's just go with the motion, then we can take it from there. So is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's moved on and seconded. Lots of words you said with the student survey moving forward with the trauma response on there along with the list of the questions.
Correct.
Okay, is there any discussion?
are we sure that we
Can
can,
that be fulfilled?
yeah, can that,
That's a good question to ask. Can that be fulfilled?
Meaning,
I
can
don't
we
think
send
this-
the actual survey?
I thought we could send the actual survey.
yeah, it's online now, isn't it?
For them to look at.
Because they made changes at the stage
Yeah.
after people were inquiring about it. From what I understand.
To the best of our ability, we'll provide the survey.
Again, when I asked MDE, they told me I had to get it from you.
I have the links to whatever they sent me, if it's the actual word, the actual questions, we don't know. This is what were to provide. These are the topics and these are examples of the questions under the topics, which were stated in the body of the email and in the attachment. Moving forward, I will look to see if it's exact. I hesitate because I don't know for sure if it's exact right here, right now, when they sent the link to me. Jacob is checking right now. They sent it to both of us. If it's the exact survey, then that is different than what they shared initially. It was similar questions on the topics that were presented.
I think we should just ask for more transparency from the state of Minnesota as parents and school districts.
I don't think we can vote for that tonight, but I agree with you absolutely.
It just seems very uncomfortable.
I second that. So where are we at?
With the motion being made to seconded, we might need an amendment to that to send out with the best available information we have on the surveys.
I think that protects us a little bit, because
Because I don't know exactly
I
what
don't know
we're
how they're
able
gonna
to do.
produce the survey, you know?
I'm a little concerned that they would do that. Why don't they just share the survey? I don't know, why would they need to hide something?
Or William.
So, or willing, yes.
Yes.
So would you like to amend your motion?
I will amend my motion to approve the Minnesota Student Survey with transparency to parents with the best information that we can provide them.
Okay.
To the content, so there.
Second?
Second.
I feel like I'm prompting too much for the second. All right, motion made and seconded to provide approve the student survey and trauma response with the information that's best available to us. That's not the best motion we've ever done, but I'm gonna go with that. Is there any discussion?
Why?
Well, I think that's what we're voting on, is if they can send it out still or not.
I think we're voting so that they will
They
send
can
it out.
send it out.
Yes. They can send out with the best information we have available.
Want it?
But it's a quorum, I can, it's fine.
No, I'm just saying, just so we're clear, so that Hayden knows we know.
Is there any discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of sending out the student survey with the trauma response with the best available information we have, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Painful. We got through that. All right, thank you, everybody. Approval of the Houston County Collaborative Interagency Agreement.
This is, each of the school districts are members of Houston County Collaborative. That was what I referenced when Nikki was talking about doing the health and wellness meeting today, that this is where we get the opioids. There is money that is collected because we're involved in this. We also do time study surveys. So there are certain people who are designated as that they work with students in a capacity with students for mental health or for wellness or for the goals of the county. And then they're sent an email, and if they fill it out, that district gets a portion of the money that's dedicated there. And so it's not a huge amount of money, we're talking between 20 and 30,000 the district gets, but it's a nice chunk of money. And it does help do some, do different things. We used it for counselors in the past and a few other areas, so. They just needed to update their paperwork and update the agreements. They hadn't been updated for quite a while.
Move to approve.
Second.
Interagency agreement is moved on and seconded. Is there any discussion?
With that savings, we could have bought 4 extra special superintendent searches.
Thank you for that.
You're
Put
welcome,
on
just,
that.
just for the discussion.
Yes.
Any
I
discussion?
just wanted to record that.
There's no cost to us for this.
No.
No. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'm ready to go.
And this year.
Motion to adjourn.
Ah, she's still talking.
Oh,
Pardon me.
FYI, just for, this year I am the chair of that committee too. So.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion to adjourn
Sorry
by
about that.
Nikki, seconded by Danny. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Who would? All right.
Eric.
Eric.
No.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, that was a good meeting, very adult,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mindy, I'm sorry.
very adult.
What you doing here instead of on a hockey rink, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, it's not always cotton candy and bubble gum, you know.
Thank you for your.
Recap before.
And I was like, oh, my. Hey, you should give it color.
I did meeting.
Oh, I will now, I know you
You would think they're hilarious.
Oh.
No, you did great.
Yeah, right?
Because he'd be back for catching.
Oh.